What are you working on right now?
Okay, well, I have several projects I'm working on right now, and the first thing that I do on a regular basis is I have an hour, 1 hour per week radio show. It's called Cindy Sheehan Soapbox. You can see it, you can listen to it at cindysheehansoapbox.com. We have every show archived. I've been doing it since the beginning of the year. So we do 1 hour a week. And it's also on Rational Radio 1360 AM in Dallas, Texas. And we have a new show every Sunday at 2 p.m. So I've had amazing topics, amazing guests. Last week I talked to activist Mike Farrell, who was in MASH. And we talked about anti-death penalty work, peace work, human rights work among refugees and things like that. I'm also working on phase 2 of a book that I self-published on the internet. I think I posted around the end of March. It's called Myth, MYTH America, 10 Greatest Myths of the Robber Class and the Case for Revolution. And now I went on book tour with it. I went to about 40 different cities. And when I ended my book tour at the end of July, I realized that when I wrote the 10 Greatest Myths, I just barely skimmed the surface. So I'm working on the part 2 called the 20 Greatest Myths of the Robber Class and the Case for Revolution. And then I'm going to self-publish that on the internet also. And but I have 2 major activist projects I'm working on right now. The first one is called the International People's Declaration of Peace. And we wrote a declaration with input from people all over the world to build a grassroots movement of people truly committed to not letting our governments take advantage of us financially, steal our children to use to kill other people's children or get killed themselves. And, the biggest part of it is that obviously we can't trust our governments to do the right thing. So we have to join together across borders and sign this Declaration of Peace and make a commitment to each other. It doesn't matter if we're making a commitment to somebody in Mexico or Canada or Iran or Afghanistan or Pakistan or wherever, Venezuela, Cuba. We're making this commitment to each other that we won't allow our governments, we can't make our government stop killing people. It's unfortunate. So that was just written. We're having it translated into 18 different languages. It's going to be an internet petition, but I'm hoping that I can travel around and get people to sign it. We're also going to have an archival quality copy because we really think that this is going to be an historic declaration that operates outside of governments and outside of huge agencies. It's just people to people. And then my second big thing, and you guys might be the first people I've been able to sit down and just really go through it, besides the people on my team, piece by piece, is called Peace, P-E-A-C-E, of the Action. And I'm moving to Washington, D.C., probably at the beginning of March, I'm hoping. That's my target date. And what we're going to do with Peace of the Action is we're going to reach out to people and we're going to sign up at least 5,000 people who are willing to sacrifice, who are willing to be committed, who are willing to sacrifice some of their comforts to change the world. And so every day in Washington, D.C., Monday through Friday, when we start Peace of the Action, and our target date's around March 19th, or what would that be? The 7th anniversary of the invasion of Iraq, is we're going to start this thing every day in Washington, D.C. 1,000 people are going to go to 10 different locations every day and shut down intersections, shut down buildings, and really stop business as usual in Washington, D.C., to clog the intersections, to clog the courts, to clog the police enforcement, and so we have 1,000 people doing on Monday, we'll have 1,000 people doing on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, then Monday's people come back and do it all over again. And we're going to also have a tent city. We're going to set it up right on the ellipsis in front of Barack Obama. that on my radio show sometimes too. Right in front of Barack Obama's face. And why should people who are homeless have to hide from society? We're going to invite them to live in our city. We're going to hopefully be able to feed everybody every night. We're put at least a roof over everybody's head, but also give them a community. You know, can you imagine being homeless and losing all of your community? And then we know that there are thousands of homeless veterans in Washington, D.C. area. We're hoping to enlist their help. We're hoping to enlist the help of students in the local universities. And we're going to say, you know, we're not going to do this for a day. These aren't symbolic actions. We're going to do it until you meet our demands. And our demands are troops home. Troops out of Iraq, Afghanistan, and Pakistan. And those are going to be our first demands. When those are met, we'll have a lot more. We'll have jobs, housing, health care, education, you know, and to accomplish all those, we not only have to bring our troops out of Iraq, Afghanistan, and stop drone bombing Pakistan, but we need to close most of the bases around the world and reduce our military to be a manageable size here in the United States. So that's what Piece of the Action is going to be. And at this point, with almost 1 out of every 4 people in this country being unemployed, with millions of people losing their homes or have already lost their homes, I'm hoping that people will think, you know what, we're going to join Cindy because we have little left to lose. And I think in a 2010 election cycle year, in a midterm election cycle, with Democrats controlling everything in Washington, D.C., this will be the year that we're going to be able to do it. And that's why I have such realistic hope that we will be successful this time. And not only that, but we ought to be able to show the rest of the country how militaristic and what a police state that we live in. I was just in Pittsburgh last week for the G20 protests, and they brought twice as many police as protesters, and they weren't suppressing protests. They weren't shutting protests down. They were attacking protests. They would come in and start attacking with their batons and their shields and their horses and their tear gas and their long-range acoustical devices, LRAD sound cannons. I got shot by a sound cannon, which is not as fun as it sounds. And I got hit by tear gas, and they put us in, and if there was 2,000 people, they would just disperse us in 2,000 different directions. So the beauty about Piece of the Action is we'll already be in 10 different locations, and those locations will be secret until right before we do the action every day. So we're hoping not only to change policy, but diffuse the police state also. So that's what I'm very busy. Very busy person. And we need help. So you can go to cindysheehansoapbox.com. You can donate to help with the Peace Declaration and Piece of the Action to help keep Cindy Sheehan Soapbox on the air. And really, you know, I think donating to keep peace possible. And, you know, we don't ask for, you know, lots of money from one person. We ask for a little bit of money from a lot of people. And I want my listeners, I want people who support me to feel invested in peace. And I mean, what else can you think of that would be better thing to invest in than, you know, future economic, health, environmental sustainability, and security? And we can only have all of those things if we have peace. Right. And I think that's a great way to end the interview.
Okay.
I think that's lovely. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for making the time.